So here we are, the first EduHERO podcast at Indian Hill Schools. I'm Kirk Konecki, Superintendent of Indian Hill. I'm so proud to be here today with Sarika Singh and Jonah Waltz. Thanks for joining us. Can you both tell us just quickly for the audience a little bit about who you are, Sarika?
Hi, my name is Sarika Singh. I'm a senior here at Indian Hill. I've been going here since kindergarten, so this is coming on my 13th year. I've been living in Cincinnati my whole life. I play tennis. I'm part of the mock trial team here. I sing, I dance, and yeah.
Thanks for joining us today.
So I'm Jonah Waltz. I've been at Indian Hill since 5th grade, so I moved in the summer, after 4th grade, and I've been here since 5th grade, through middle school and high school, and I've lived in a lot of different places. I was born in California, lived in Idaho, lived in Mason, Ohio, lived in Arkansas, now back in Ohio. And I run cross country and track and field.
That's great. I know you're both involved in a lot of activities. We'll dive into that in a few minutes. And it's interesting you telling us a little bit about your experience and how long you've been in the district. So Jonah, moving in, living in other places, like when you compare Indian Hill as a public school to everywhere else you've been, what's something that stands out in your mind about being a Brave?
I haven't really had a lot to compare because I've only been at one elementary school, but I think my experience here has been great. It's been pretty much like growing up here because it feels like I've grown up here because I've gone through, elementary, middle school. But it's definitely a different feeling from any other school. You feel a lot more connected with the students, the teachers, and it's just all the stuff that happens outside of school in the district is also very different from other places, and it's a good thing.
That's great. And Sarika, we talked a little bit before that you two know each other and you're friendly. You don't necessarily hang out together all the time because you're involved in a lot of different activities. There are lots of activities to choose from at the Indian Hill Schools, and I see like you're involved in tennis, you mentioned, and you've done mock trial, and you've done singing and dance, and the Hill. What do you think about all those opportunities, and are you trying new things every year? Have you kind of settled in now as an upperclassman? Like, what do you want people to know about these student opportunities at Indian Hill?
I think now that I'm a senior, I've kind of settled in. I've kind of made a place in each activity that I do. Freshman year, I went into it already kind of knowing what I wanted to do. I was aware of mock trial. I knew that I wanted to do tennis. I knew I wanted to write on the newspaper, and I've kind of stuck with that for the past 4 years. I think the opportunities at this school are vast when it comes to extracurriculars, and it's amazing how much opportunity each student gets to create their own club and to create an environment, because I know a handful of people that have created their own clubs, and it's not a hard process. So if you are really interested and passionate about something, it's easy to, make it a club and bring people together that enjoy stuff like that. So I think that's one of the best things about Indian Hill and the activities.
Let's talk a little bit more about that because, again, I used to be a high school principal and I've worked in other places in the past. And when you say, like, if you're a student and you want to come create a club or your own experience, it's not that hard. That's not the norm. So, like, give me an example of something that you know that you or a friend has done here where they were passionate about something and they made it happen.
Yeah, so I have a friend named Joseph Kane, and he created a club called Power of Music. And it's a nonprofit, and we focus in on singing and music. So over the past, I want to say he created about a year and a half. I may be wrong about that, but we go to retirement homes, or we went to a church one time and they sang they did caroling. And it's just a good way. His idea is music is a great way to heal and to bring happiness to people. And he's this amazing artist, and every single kid that's in that club is an amazing artist. And they've all come together knowing that, I enjoy singing, but I also want to give back to my community with something that I can do. And it's grown. It's even a branch at a different school now.
Wow.
Yeah, he goes to lots of different, he spread it to Sycamore. So I'm really proud of him, and I'm really happy to be a part of that group. And that's just an example of how easy and how many resources, and if you're really passionate about something, you can basically do anything at the school.
Well, I love hearing that, and the fact that he's giving service, therapy, and using music and art to do that. That's really cool. Jonah, you are very humble. We were talking a little bit about cross country, track and field, the prospects, and you're a really good student athlete. How much pressure do you feel as a student athlete now when you look back over your career here? Can you just talk about the pressure of being a student athlete that performs at a high level at Indian Hill the way you do?
So I want to start with saying, like, I didn't originally come into high school knowing I was going to run. Like, I started the first day of school, actually, because I'd been playing recreational soccer my whole life, and, that was the thing I did. And so I tried out for the soccer team, and I didn't make it. And I was, like, hard on myself, because, like, all my friends got to do it. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And my dad's like, well, you're going to do something. So I'm like, yeah, I know, I want to be a part of a team. So he signed me up for cross country. And first day I come to practice, and everyone is very welcoming. Like, it's like a big cross country. I mean, it's a big family. Everyone is very welcoming. It's almost like a cheat code to making friends in school, because like the second you're there, you like
Get involved.
you're already involved. You already have people you can come and talk to. Like the seniors, like I still talk to the seniors from that class to this day. I still know them.
That's great.
And we did things outside of school and outside of practice. But yeah, talking about the pressure, I think my freshman year I was definitely like driven, but obviously I was not as good, so I was kind of hard on myself. But I did make it top 7 varsity as a freshman, which was cool to me. And then from then I was like, wow, I can really do this. And so I was like, I'm gonna keep running. And so I've been doing that. I've been captain since junior year, and I think
Captain of both teams.
both teams, yes.
That's kind of unique, Jonah. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I think the pressure, I mean, it can go for all the sports. I mean, you definitely don't want to let your team down, because how you perform, especially in cross country, you have to score points and place a certain way. And I think that definitely weighs on you when you start the race. You have like a lot of like nerves and stuff, but the nerves is the best part of running, because it releases and it gives you big adrenaline boosts to keep you going. And I think during practice, we stress a lot during like the hard workouts, and it feels like you can't do it, or you don't want to keep going, but you just got to keep pushing. And I think that's across all the sports. I think everyone has some amount of pressure, but also they really enjoy doing what they do. So it's not like super intense like.
They help you get through the experience together with that family kind of feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
And Sarka, you kind of have that pressure, right, in another form. We have like a mock trial program here that is just like second to none, right? There's a lot of, I think, camaraderie, but there's also a lot of pressure. And it's similar, right? Like the tennis, cross country, I was thinking about this with you two. Like, it's kind of an individual thing, but it's also a team thing. Can you talk about that, like how you approach that? Because it's pretty competitive.
Yeah, so mock trial coming in freshman year, mock trial had like possibly the best name in the school. They had so many state titles, international, national titles. And to think, well, I knew freshman year that wasn't going to be me. And to think that now I'm a senior, and this past year, Team Red, we were state runner-up. And it was
Excellent.
It was a group of, I think, 7 or 8 girls and 1 guy, and we worked together to get, like, no one thought that we would get to this place, and frankly, we were the underdog. We weren't supposed to. And the mock trial program, it went through a lot of changes through our season, and I'm very proud of our team for making state runner-up, knowing our situation. And yeah, there's a little bit of pressure knowing that there are some people that from the mock trial program that are now some of the best lawyers out there. There's some pressure with that. And I feel it a little bit with tennis as well. We have some great state, like I think Haley Hirsch and Morgan Coburn are the last people that won tennis
competitors.
state. Yeah, they're great, and now they're playing in college, and we've had people commit. And you're always going to have that pressure with any activity that you do, especially if you're entering such like a prestigious activity. It's always going to be there. But I think the most important thing is how you react to it.
And so I'm hearing you both say a little bit about how you react is you lean into your teammates. How about the adults around you? Like, I know you get to work with some pretty amazing coaches and teachers. Maybe you could each just talk about one, and it doesn't have to be with your teams, but like, Jonah, like, the teachers here have high expectations of you, but I think I like to say that our teachers are world class, and so what comes with that hopefully is support. Who is someone that stands out in your mind, like over the last 4 years, that you would say has both challenged you to deal with that pressure of being a high-performing student, but also supported you?
Yeah, I'd say definitely one of my favorite teachers that I've had is Mr. Brocksterman. He teaches environmental science and AP biology, and I had him for AP environmental science last year. And and like I think a lot of kids really like him because he's super funny, and like he kind of like acts, like the students, and he like makes sure that everyone feels like relaxed, and like the atmosphere is like fun, but at the same time we gotta get our work done. And the way he does that is like if you are struggling with something in class, all you have to do is just talk to him, and he will be right there while you're working and just help you through it, and maybe give you a little bit of repeat it a few times just to make sure that you understand the topic. And I guess we definitely did a lot of like fun activities to help learn it. Instead of just sitting down and taking notes on paper, we did some stuff in the lab and some fun like peer building activities to kind of learn the content, and just help us all become, I guess, more friendly with each other. And that really helped, because then you could like ask a classmate, hey, like what'd you get on this one, like I'm having trouble understand this. And I think building that environment in the classroom is really important.
And he's influenced you a little bit, right? Like you're
Yeah.
thinking about like environmental studies and business in the future, and
For
you
sure.
like that science.
Yes.
So he's obviously had a little bit of an influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And Sarika, when you think about that, like somebody who's had those high standards but been supportive, like who do you think about, as a senior?
I think the teacher that really stands out to me is Mrs. Sayre. I don't call myself the best English or history person. I kind of lean more towards math and science, but I've always felt this need to take the highest level courses. So even though I don't think that I'm the best at English, last year I did take AP Lang, and it's a lot of like analyzing and writing, and that's something that I personally don't feel like I'm the greatest at. And Mrs. Sayre creates this phenomenal environment of just understanding. She is always there. She'll always help you edit your essay. She'll always be there to help you understand what you're reading. Near the end of the year, we work on college essays, and she sits with you one-on-one, and she edits your essay, and she tells you, I really like this, maybe you should take this out. And I think the college essay is one of like the hardest things the senior has to do, because like a college, they see your numbers, but that's not who you are.
Right.
The college essay is you. And to have a teacher that will sit with you and make sure that this is exactly who you are, it really spoke to me. And she's actually writing my letter of rec.
I can see it in your face, and that developing that voice in your voice and her helping you develop your voice, right?
Yeah.
That you should be really proud of that. And I love hearing that, of course, as an educator, that you have that kind of respect and relationship for that teacher. That's so wonderful. Let's talk about this idea of high school and how you perceive it versus like how the rest of the world, including like the adults out there, perceive it. Like you've been through it now, 4 years. Like how has school changed, right? Like what does the world need to know about going to a high performing public school like Indian Hill? What is that high school experience, the trials and tribulations that you think like everybody needs to understand what I'm going through? Here's what it is. What would you say?
I guess so. The question is like, how is it different from anywhere else? I guess, well, school has changed a lot. I mean, we've obviously had a little bit of a different experience than most adults have. Our 4 years kind of got interrupted. Freshman year, we had a mostly normal,
Historic interruption.
historic
Yes.
interruption. We had a mostly pretty normal first half, obviously, and then COVID hit in March, and we were shut down. And like the online learning stuff, we had to go through that, and then we came back, right, slowly, but we made it back. And I think that it definitely affected a lot of people because, I think being online, we kind of forgot how to learn, how to be in the classroom. So sophomore year was almost like relearning how to be in school again.
Sure.
And that was like the first, like, okay, this is the start of high school. We don't have to worry about any cancellations now. And I think it's definitely like this school has really helped us get back from that big break and really helped the students, I guess, learn how to learn again. And it's been great. And I've enjoyed my experience here a lot. And it's definitely, you got to put in work.
Do you think there's things about school today, like when you talk with your parents at home or your grandparents, right, that you just know, like, this is so different than what you guys went through? Like, I mean, you've kind of grown up, right, with devices in your hands and social media coming at you and all these things. Like, do you think it's changed a lot?
I think for sure, like the use of technology. Obviously, people before, we had Blackboard and pen and paper, but now it's like we incorporate a lot of technology into our learning. And I think that's pretty cool because we're able to do a lot of things. Like in the studio we're in right now, this is a new studio, and students can take a class. I took video tech.
Sure.
And you can learn how to put on a production and how to like use the cameras and everything. And it's a really unique experience that I don't think you get anywhere else.
And Sarka, you like play off that a little bit. So what do you think about how school has changed and maybe how your parents might compare your experience to theirs? Like, what do you tell the average adult who isn't going to a school like Indian Hill? Like, what's it like?
So for me, it's a little different because both my parents went to high school in India.
Okay.
And they both went to college in India. And then they immigrated here. So they have a very, very different understanding of high school. For them, and from what I've gotten with the conversations I've had with them, they, especially my mom, she really focused in on academics. And it was all about school. And it was completely understandable. Nowadays, for me, it's like 50% of my time goes to school, maybe 75%, but 25% of my time will go to somewhere else. My life is not my grades and not my school. And I'm comparing it back to the culture of just India. Because I don't know much about high school culture in America like 30 years ago. But I think it's different because we have more opportunities and resources to spend our time somewhere else. And we have learned, and especially me, I've learned time management. I've learned that I don't need to study for a test for 4 hours if I have correct resources that will help me do it in an hour or two. So I think that's the biggest thing that's different.
And so you're getting to spend a little bit of time, right, both of you are involved in lots of activities, and whether it's writing or performing or athletics, and you're getting to spend a lot of time with this high pressure academic kind of environment where you're choosing to challenge yourself, obviously, with the classes you're taking, but you're also getting to have some great social experiences. What are some of the most unique things that you'll remember forever from Indian Hill? Maybe pick one or two. Like, Jonah, when you think back now about 4 years, you're getting ready to move on, like, what's one or two things about that you got to do in the last 4 years that were really fun or that were a part of that social experience that you're like, oh, I'm never going to forget that?
Yeah. I'd say for me, a lot of like the events that the school has put on, like homecoming, prom, have all been a ton of fun. And I think I'll definitely remember those. And I think really the stuff that happens outside of school, like athletics and extracurriculars, I think is what I'm really gonna remember. Because school is school, but there's also been when you are able to interact with the people you know from school outside, it's like it's a really good experience. And I'd say definitely cross country. Last year we went to Universal Studios as a team, and that was definitely my favorite experience of high school so far because it was all these people that I'd known like since freshman year. And then we all got to go, and it was during homecoming. So the cross-country team missed homecoming last year, but we had homecoming on top of a hotel overlooking like the Disneyland fireworks.
I saw the pictures.
It was
pretty amazing.
It was like the most fun we've ever had. And we obviously had to put our work in. We had to race early in the morning. We got to spend the next few days at Universal, all just becoming way more closer. And I'm way more closer with the guys now than I was before that trip.
Sure.
And I guess Coach Savage does a really good job at, even without the trip, making sure that we are all like friends and make sure that we're all there for each other and that the bond is really like gets strengthened.
I can see when you're talking about it that bond matters to you, right? And how strong it is. And of course, that's one of the reasons why you're probably the captain of your team too, is you believe so strongly in that for your teammates, and that's great. I'm proud of you. Sarko, like when you think back about that, right? Like the last 4 years, what stands out? Is there a couple experiences that you're like, oh man, that's Indian Hill to me?
Definitely the tennis team. So I'm captain this year and I was captain last year, and it's possibly it's the greatest group of girls because they all have this love for tennis, and to be surrounded by them and to have their energy constantly, it just makes you a better player, and you feel less pressure. Like, I think we've had it before where we have really close matches, and it's like we've won 2, and there's 3 matches still going on, and how tennis works is you got to win 3 out of the 2 matches to get the overall win. And that last match that's on, and everyone's cheering, and they lose. In some environments, that could be extremely hostile. But for us, and what I appreciate the most, is we create that loving environment, and we create that understanding environment that losses are going to happen. you're going to lose. It's inevitable. But it's how you react. It's how the people around you react to it.
The relationships are that strong.
Exactly. And, you know, our team is small. It's no cross-country team. We only have 8 players on our team.
Strong, small, but mighty.
Yes, very small. And it's, you spend 3 months with these girls. Sometimes you spend the 2 months coming into summer with these girls. And you just become so close with them. So that's one
So,
thing.
from 2 captains, love hearing this, right? Because you're sharing such important things about values to me. Just, I know I'm peppering you with a lot of questions here, but this is fascinating. So, let me ask this: when you think about challenging work you've had to do, and I know you said like Miss Sarah helped you develop your voice a little bit. I'm not talking about like the hardest test necessarily, but when you think about something that a teacher gave you as an assignment over the last 4 years that was really challenging, but now you look back and you go, oh, I'm so glad that I actually got that assignment because it taught me something, right? It gave me time management, or it made me do this with like, is there one that stands out in your mind, Jonah, that you're thinking of?
Yes, for sure. So I took marketing last year, junior year. I had Mr. Saeed. He's an awesome marketing teacher, and we have a ton of fun in that class. But we have an assignment. Everybody has to do a presentation, and it's not like a slideshow, standard presentation. It's you dress formally, like you dress up. You have to walk into the room, and you have to sell Mr. Saeed a product. So you have to plan. Either a poster board, you can have like a replica of the product, and you have to plan an experience, like almost like him walking onto the sales floor experience.
It's a real sales pitch
Yes.
performance.
So yeah, it takes like probably a couple weeks to prepare. You prepare a script and what you're gonna do, and so you walk into the classroom and you're like, "Hey, Mr. Saeed, welcome to blank, wherever you're selling from." And that for me was like one of the best experiences I've had, because it was a challenging thing to think, how am I going to sell him on this car? I was doing a sports car, and I helped. My dad is in marketing, and so he helped me through it, and it was like a really good setup for like the future. Like, all right, I could maybe do this in the future.
Sure.
And it was super fun to have your classmates smiling in the background, but also have Mr. Saeed like interacting with you, asking questions about the product, and you delivering the sales pitch.
And your parents were involved, right? Because they knew
Yeah.
they knew this project was going on a little bit, so you have to interact
Yeah, my
with
dad
your
was for
family
sure,
a little.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. What about you, Sarka? When you think back about a challenging project or assignment?
So for me, I think I'm going to focus in on a class.
Okay.
So I took AP Physics 1 last year. And
Who was your teacher?
Mr. Debank, and
Okay.
he's a phenomenal teacher. He's very, very kind. He's very understanding. He's
Nationally known on YouTube, by the way.
He is very good at his job. But physics is hard, and physics does not come easily to me. And it was a difficult year for me. I struggled a lot in his class, and it was kind of disheartening because going into junior year, I was like, I want to do engineering. This is something I want to do. And that's math and physics. That's what engineering is. So if 50% of it is good and the other 50% of it is not so good, then is this really what I want to do? So it was really, really hard for me to get through that class because it was like, I feel like a bit of a failure. But Mr. Debank made it so he understood, and he helped me understand. And although I didn't perform very well, I still want to become an engineer, because I can sit here and say that physics is interesting to me. So even though I don't do well, like on a paper I don't do well, I still like it, and I still want to become an engineer. And it was also really nice because, going off of Jonah's point, my father's a chemical engineer, and my brother's an industrial engineer. So they know physics. So I got to work with them, and I got 3 perspectives of how to understand something.
And all that perspective has helped you both, it sounds like, to kind of crystallize a little bit about what you're interested in,
Yes.
what maybe you're not, what your strengths are. And the teachers, it sounds like, helped in that experience,
course,
which
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
to hear. So I appreciate you sharing that. So let's forecast, like, where are the captains going to be like a year from now? Like, Sarka, you're probably going to be where, probably doing what a year from now?
So I'm not sure about where. It's all kind of up in the air, but probably engineering, probably chemical engineering.
And give us one of 3 schools maybe you could end up at.
So University of Michigan, Purdue, maybe OSU.
Okay, I like hearing that in the same sentence.
Yeah,
Sweet.
it's a bit conflicting at times, but
Big Ten.
Yeah. Purdue because my brother graduated from there, and I don't know, I like their campus.
And you're still pretty intent on pursuing the engineering degree.
Yeah, I think when I talk to people, like I have friends who understood that I was not good at physics, and they're like, why are you doing engineering? Like, you can be bad at something or not understand it and still want to learn it.
Yeah, and get better at it over time.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, for sure. Jonah, what about you? Where are you
So-
going to be next year? What are you probably going to be doing?
I'm pretty sure I know where, but I can't say yet. In the future,
Spoiler alert, there's an announcement coming.
But of the three on my top podium of schools I want to go to, probably Muhlenberg in Virginia, Pennsylvania, Denison in Ohio, and Chapman in Orange County, California. And I want to do environmental studies and maybe minor in business, and hopefully take that somewhere in the future with maybe not more of a science part, but more of like relating it to business. So yeah.
That's great. It's so exciting to hear that you're thinking about your futures. And I think a lot of people, right, they think about the senior year as a time of great reflection and transition, but it should also be a time of a lot of fun. And for you two, competing at a high level, both in the classroom and in the activities you're involved in. You're involved in multiple activities. You're giving service back to your community, and you're great teammates. So proud of you both for being captains, and so proud of you both on this historic day for being my first guests on the EduHERO podcast. You truly are my EduHEROs. Thank you for being here.
Thank
Thank you for having us.
Have a great day.